Hello MBA aspirants, in this video we'll appreciate 5 tips for starting a group discussion. Tip number 1, carefully craft the opening gambit. Remember that well begun is half done. This is the first time you're speaking in the discussion. You are the person initiating the discussion, so you have to ensure that the first impression which you create goes a long way in establishing positive image, a positive impact. High risk, high return situation. The first speaker faces this challenge. If all goes well, then things go in favor of the speaker. If there is a problem, if you start and then suddenly you go blank and nothing comes along, then it puts you in a situation. So it's a high risk, high return situation. The lights are on you. You need to act when the action button is pressed. So you need to do this only if you are equipped to do so. Remember that this is a situation which requires you to give directional inputs to the group. It is not therefore suggested that you should speak if you are not able to do this kind of a task. So you have to set the ball moving. You have to set the direction, the way the group has to move forward. Projects goal setting ability. If you are able to do so successfully, if you're able to define the scope of the discussion, if you're able to give some kind of a direction to the group, it shows that you have an ability to set goals and it demonstrates high initiative. Initiative is your ability to start, to take the first step in the right direction. So if you are able to do this role in a certain way which is positive, it tells the panel that you have these abilities to initiate and set goals. Use keyword approach. Now the keyword approach advocates that you identify the keywords in the topic. Let us assume the topic for discussion is, should the Republic Day celebrations be redefined? If you look at the statement carefully, if you look at this topic carefully, you'll be able to appreciate that the keywords are Republic and redefined. Other words will just link them to make a meaningful statement. So the first challenge is you identify these words. The next challenge is define the keywords. So now you graduate to the level where you can define the term Republic and you can define the term redefine. Republic, of course, is a form of government in which the head of the state is elected, and redefine would mean that you need to change the way in which it is being currently celebrated. Then, of course, you correlate the keywords to pan out the scope of the topic for discussion. Here what you do is you link these two words. So redefine has two implications, a yes or a no. If it's a yes, then how else can you celebrate the Republic Day? If it's a no, then why not? So this helps you to flowchart the entire process and define the scope of the discussion. So keyword approach therefore suggests that you should focus on the important words in the topic, and then you define them, you correlate them, and that sets you going. Let's take another example. So the topic for discussion is guessing an act of intelligence. Now the keywords are guessing and intelligence. So the next challenge is define what is guessing and define what is intelligence. Once you've done that, now you correlate them. Now you reach a level where you can possibly say that guessing is a form of decision making in which data is inadequate. Intelligence reflects the ability of an individual to accomplish a task in an intellectually superior way. It's the power of the mind, it's the faculties which help you to achieve the goal. So now you will club these two and roll out the scope of the discussion. So this can be used as an approach most of the times. Next, tip number 3, apply shock strategy. Now let's try to see this. Shock and then unshock the group. When you shock the group, you put them in a situation. You do something which is unpredictable, and suddenly the group gets into that unstable phase, and then you get them back to the stable phase. So the entire process of shocking and unshocking them can give you that mileage in the group and can give you the opportunity to start the discussion. Shock can be created in different ways. Shock, of course, as I said a while back, is something unpredictable. The group is not prepared for it. So something has to be done which takes them aback, and then you do the needful to fill the gaps. The first element of creating a shock could be a story. You share a story. You share a story which is relevant, a story which is short, a story which is gripping, and a story which sells. Say, the topic for discussion is FDI in the Indian retail market. Yes or no? Question mark. Now, in this kind of a topic, imagine somebody starting off with a virtual story. It may be factual, it may be virtual. So you start off with a story something like this. A family came back from its shopping experience in London, and the 7-year-old daughter asked her father, "Do we have Harrods in New Delhi?" The father replied, "Yes, we are in the process because the market is opening up." Now, a 7-year-old may not understand what is FDI, what is retail, but definitely we as students of management, we need to appreciate these terms and take the discussion forward. Now, this is a quick example of how you can use the story approach to start the discussion. The story, as I said a while back, could be either factual or it could be virtual. Use quotes. Now, quotes will help you to have a lead, to get that comfort level when you start, and it also creates that impact in the group that this person is well read, this person is informed, and this person knows how and when to wield information. So starting with a quote can be a good strategy. The popular quotes on change, on power, leadership, strategy, you pick up a management guide, you go on to Google and you search for it, you will find lots and lots of quotes there, and this can be a good starting approach. Wield data. Now, data is powerful. Not everybody would have the data part with him or her, though we have endless data on the web these years, but very few people are able to use it appropriately. So if you have data relevant to economy, if you know the GDP, if you know the growth percentage, if you know the results of the census 2011, you can always use them in some way or the other, and this can be a good way to start the discussion. Follow patenting approach. Now, patent is a legal right. It's yours. So once you have said something in the discussion, you patent it. You were the one who introduced the idea for discussion. So it puts you on that pedestal. Use divergent thinking to come out with as many implications of the topic as possible. Now, this, of course, depends on the person, depends on the topic at hand, depends on the situation. But divergent thinking is lateral thinking. You to stretch your thought process and see if you are able to look at the topic in different ways, which others possibly cannot. And as I said, it depends on the given topic. Factual topics may not offer as much flexibility for divergent thinking. See, a factual topic is absolutely dependent on a set of facts, on an event, on information. But if you look at non-factual topics, if you look at topics which are abstract, now this gives you a lot of scope for flexibility. Then there are topics like which are quasi-factual, which are possibly generic in nature, but they can be seen in a different way. For example, the topic is, do aliens exist? Now, in this topic, people would normally feel that the scope of discussion is limited to life beyond Earth. And the popular input would be around Mars and UFOs, etc., etc. However, the minute somebody looks at the topic in a different way and goes on to say that the word alien here means uncommon, means foreigner, means somebody therefore who does not fit in the common place, and therefore this somebody is an achiever. So aliens here would mean achievers. So do achievers exist? Yes. If we look at different environments, different domains, we've had achievers in every such domain. You look at history, you look at polity, you look at science, you will find different people who have contributed over the years, and these are all achievers. They're all aliens. So how does an achiever think and act can be the scope of the discussion. Be fluent enough to exercise this approach. Now, fluency is the continuity of speech. The minute your speech has gaps, this will give an opportunity to the other someone to enter the discussion. So whatever you say, you need to ensure that continuity in your speech. I'm not talking about the rate of speech, I'm talking about that continuity. The words should be linked and gaps should not be evident, and gaps should not come across every now and then. Avoid the following. Repeating the topic at the onset. Now this is discounting the essence of being the first speaker. Imagine somebody starting off by saying, good morning, the topic for discussion is guessing an act of intelligence. Now, do you think that others have not heard this? Do you think that anybody would have not heard the topic on that day? Not possible. So what possibly he or she is doing is that someone is buying more time to think as he or she would possibly speak along, that someone is thinking also. So we normally suggest that if you have to repeat the topic, sandwich it somewhere later. Start off with whatever we discussed a while back, a quote, a story, some data, try to define the term, and then you can possibly say, having said that, the topic for discussion is this. So try to add some value before you actually repeat the topic. Because the minute you start off on a repetitive note, people will switch themselves off. They will not listen to you, and they are also gearing up to speak. Please remember that. So you have to create enormous value as a first speaker. Speaking for the sake of speaking should not be there. Please make sure that you are not just speaking because you were told that being the first speaker helps. It does help, but it will help only if you are able to create some kind of a value proposition. It will not help if you are being redundant, if you are being repetitive, and you were told that you need to start and then somebody will intervene. What if nobody intervenes? If you start off and then you suddenly lose momentum, what happens? That silence which follows will work against you. Taking an affirmative stand at the very beginning, please avoid this. It's a big no. And this is true more so for controversial topics. Say the topic for discussion is politics a bad game? Now most of us would say yes, it's a bad game. But even if you have to say so, do not start off the discussion on this note. It looks as if you are opinionated, you are judgmental, you are dampening the spirits of other speakers, and you are not allowing the flexibility in terms of thinking. So never start off on a judgmental note in terms of a yes or a no. Gradually build up your argument, right? And people should not get the message that this someone is too opinionated and is difficult to connect with. Getting into a conflict with a parallel speaker, it is fairly probable that as you start the discussion, somebody else also starts the discussion, and then you have a set of parallel speakers, and it could be 2, 3, 4, the number could be higher. So what if 2 or 3 people start off simultaneously? Then somebody has to manage the situation. It cannot be an ego problem, right? You can't get into that situation. So you have to sense the situation. You have to see the other someone. Is the other someone too adamant? Is the other someone too fluent? So you have to plan your strategy accordingly. But avoid getting into a conflict outrightly. We hope that these 5 tips will help you to have a good start in the group discussion. Thank you.